He just wishes he can't handle the smoke of BK.
Hey guys, I know it's been a while, but with football right around the corner, I thought what better time for some Cramerica content. So today I'm going to be looking at the preseason team evaluations. So basically what I'm going to be doing for this is I'm going to be explaining each team's wants and needs, and those needs will propel that team to the next level. And I'm going to be grading each draft along with many of each team's players, and I'm going to be using a grading system A through F. And for this list, I was saying that risky or unproven draft picks could lower the grade depending on their upside or downside. And players at risk of holding out or high risk of injuries will also lower this grade. And I'm going to be selecting each team's best value pick, aka the BVP. And this is a solid player taken below their projected value. Someone like an Austin Eckler of last season, where he was taken in the 8th round and ended up being running back 4. And I'm going to be mentioning not only starters, but also notable bench players. And also, by the way, these are in absolutely no particular order. They're just totally random. So first up, it's Drew. And I said for his major need is a guaranteed running back 1. While Dalvin Cook obviously has the potential to be a running back 1 and is viewed as an RB1 and could even be the best running back in the fantasy football league right now, but it's just his contract issues and the major injuries that total up over the years. He's had 3 seasons in the NFL, and each of those seasons he's had a serious injury. Some of those injuries being long term, some of them being a little shorter than others, but still relatively scary to have a running back 1 with that many injuries. And I also said for his major upside pick, I said T.Y. Hilton. And I said this because he's got a new QB in Philip Rivers, and he has previously finished in the top 5. So I thought that was major upside, and he could easily come back to that form this year. And a safe pick is also T.Y. Hilton because, 1, he got him in the 7th round, and 2, obviously he has much upside. So this is easily a solid wide receiver 2 and or flex, and he got him in the 7th round. And a risky pick for me, like I said before, Dalvin Cook is prone to injuries, and he also has contract negotiations going on right now. But luckily, Drew does have that handcuff in Alexander Madison. So if Cook does go out, he does have that replacement ready on the bench. So that's pretty good. And speaking of bench, notable bench slots that Drew has are DJ Chark and Terry McLaurin. And I really like this receiver core because even if Ty does not pan out, he still has 2 valuable options for wide receiver 2. And his best value pick for me, I would also say, is T.Y. Hilton. Just again, like I said, he got him in the 7th round at 66th overall and could easily finish as wide receiver 2 value. Overall, I graded this a B minus just because of the downside that Dalvin Cook and Kenyon Drake have, as they're both a little, as Kenyon Drake is a little unproven, only with 4 or 5 big games, and Dalvin Cook is prone to injury. But if those 2 hit, this will go up by a lot. And next we have Alex. So I think the major need that Alex has is a solid running back 3. While James Conner and Joe Mixon are solid set of duo running backs, I think that this team could be propelled to the next level with just one hit of running back 3. And this is why I say his major upside pick is Jonathan Taylor. That's why I have an asterisk next to it, because I think Jonathan Taylor could be that one guy that could break out and be that solid RB3, but we just don't know yet. And I think that he's a possible starter on Indianapolis with a proven system, with a great O-line, and a new QB, so this could actually work out very well for Jonathan Taylor. And a safe pick I said for him is DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is a solid pick in the 3rd round, and he was wide receiver 16 last year, which is still pretty good, and he had no QB. Kyle Allen was his QB, so I think this can only go up from here, especially with the new QB, Teddy Bridgewater, so I think this is a great pick. And a risky pick for me, I would say, is definitely Noah Fant, the tight end for the Broncos. I just say this because they've acquired so many new skill positions for the Broncos, and yes, they'll be throwing a lot with Drew Lock, but I just don't know if they'll be looking to the tight end position. It could pan out, though. We just need to wait and see whether or not Drew Lock will be looking for the tight end slot. And notable bench slots, like I said before, he has Jonathan Taylor on the bench, but he also has Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins. And I think all 3 of those guys could pan out very well. I think they could end up being starters possibly at the flex position at least. I think that as long as they do good, I think this team will be very, very good and very set for the playoffs. And I'd say the best value pick for Alex this season was definitely Lamar Jackson, getting him as steal in the fourth round at 34th overall. I think that based on what I've been seeing before, he was going in the second round, and he was obviously projected QB1, and I was just surprised to see him drop this low. And because of what I've said before, I think Alex's team is steady right now, and I gave him an A minus because I think with these pieces set in place already, I think he's at a pretty good position, and if more hit, he will be in prime position for a playoff opportunity. And next we have Nolan, and I said that his need is definitely safe running backs because Aaron Jones and Todd Gurley are both not necessarily safe running backs. While yes, they can put up points week to week, you don't know if they're going to be consistent, if they're touchdown dependent, or what's going on there. Aaron Jones obviously is very touchdown dependent, scoring 16, and obviously you should expect some regression there. And Todd Gurley, of course, with the injuries stacking up over the years, and of course going to the new team in Atlanta, I think this is somewhat a risky pick, but I think they could pay off very well. And a major upside pick, I said, is Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray could be that breakout QB that people have been talking about, like Lamar Jackson was last year. I think the addition of DeAndre Hopkins and just it being his sophomore year, I think this is going to be a great season for Kyler Murray. And then a safe pick, I said, is Julio Jones, the wide receiver for the Falcons. I think that since he finished in the top 7 every year since 2015, I think you really can't go wrong drafting Julio. Like literally anywhere in the draft, it's not going to be a bad pick. I just think you can't go wrong with Julio. And a risky pick for me, like I said before, Aaron Jones. I say this because, one, he's very touchdown dependent, and two, I think they're going to be working in other backs in that system. I think they might try to do what the 49ers did last year. You never know really with them. But if his touchdowns do regress like many people anticipate, it will not be the same season that Aaron Jones had last year. And a notable bench slot that no one has are Julian Edelman and Aaron Rodgers. I think Julian Edelman is a great bench slot to have. Even if you worked him at a flex, I think that would be a great opportunity just because Julian Edelman, I think he was wide receiver 9 last year, which is a solid wide receiver. And again, his best value pick, I'd say, is Kyler Murray just because he got him in the 5th round at 50th overall, and I think he could be that breakout QB. And I gave him a C minus for this one. While I think the only reason I gave him the C minus is because of his running back situation. I think if he upped his running back situation just a little bit, I think this team would go from a C minus to more like a C plus, maybe a B minus. I think that would really turn his team around like that. And for BK, I think the one thing that he needs are some consistent wide receivers. While Mike Evans, OBJ, and Stefon Diggs sounds amazing, and I would love to have that, I just think that all 3 of them are somewhat inconsistent, going from 40 one week to 0 the next, and you just don't know what you're going to get with any of them. And I think since OBJ did have a bad season last year, you should expect more out of him, so that could be very good upside. But Stefon Diggs finishing lower tier last year for Stefon Diggs standards, I think going to this new team isn't the best thing to do right now, and I guess that's somewhat a risky pick. And major upside, I said, was Darren Waller, the tight end for the Raiders. I think that he's a possible top 5 tight end, and he's definitely the number 1 option for Las Vegas this year, and I think you can't really go wrong with him at tight end. And then a safe pick, of course, I got to say Christian McCaffrey, my boy. I love Christian McCaffrey here just because you can't go wrong with him. I mean, he had the 2nd greatest performance of all time, and I don't see how picking Christian McCaffrey here is a bad pick at all. And a risky pick, like I said before, is Stefon Diggs, as he finished wide receiver 24 last year, which is pretty bad for Stefon Diggs standards, and he's likely going to regress a little bit going from a new team and going to Josh Allen this year, who is not known for the deep ball necessarily, the accurate deep ball, I should say. And a notable bench slots that BK has are Brandon Cooks and Drew Lock. I think these 2 could even work into starting, maybe not Drew Lock, but I think Brandon Cooks could maybe get that flex spot if Stefon Diggs or one of the receivers are struggling a little bit, but I think that's a great bench slot to have. And I'd probably say his best value pick is definitely Nick Chubb, and I think getting him in the 2nd round at 20th overall is a great pick because one, he was supposed to go in the first round most likely, if not the second round. And two, you can always count on Nick Chubb to get a decent amount of carries, even with Kareem Hunt in that system. And I gave BK a B- on this one, just because I think if BK got that solid wide receiver that he needs, stable wide receiver, I should say, who consistently puts up points accurately each week, I think that this team will go to the playoffs 100%. And then we have Brendan here. I think out of anything in this entire league, he's the one person that needs a running back, because he does not have a single lone back in his whole team, not even on the bench. I think Melvin Gordon and Tariq Cohen are questionable picks, as both of them, you don't know if Melvin Gordon is going to share time or get all the reps. You don't know really, because Philip Lindsay is there. And Tariq Cohen, you don't know with David Montgomery. It's questionable. Even though he's injured, you don't know how many touches he's going to get a game. But I think that his wide receivers are stacked very well, and I think that Brendan has major upside value in Calvin Ridley. I think that since he put up 60-plus catches and 800 yards in his first 2 seasons with the Falcons, I think that can only go up from here. And I can't really see anything going wrong in this pick, because especially at wide receiver 2, Calvin Ridley is a solid wide receiver 2 to pick. And, of course, I got to say his safe pick is definitely Michael Thomas, because he's guaranteed those touches. And while, yes, third overall is a little bit of a reach for him, I think that is a solid pick, just because you're going to get an immense amount of catches this year from Michael Thomas. And like I said before, a risky pick, Melvin Gordon. You don't really know what you're going to get, because, yes, we had Philip Lindsay rush for 1,000-yard back-to-back years. You don't know what he's going to get. You don't know if he's going to be the goal line back like he was in L.A. and San Diego. You don't really have an idea of what his workload is going to be yet. And then I said for notable bench slots, I think Kareem Hunt and Golden Tate are 2 great people to have on the bench. And Kareem Hunt, yes, while he does share time, I think that is a solid flex position, as he will get some touches, whether that be through the air or just running the ball. I think he's going to get a decent amount of touches in that system. And then for the best value pick, I said Jarvis Landry in the 7th round at 63 overall, because last year he did finish wide receiver 12, surprisingly, in 2019, which many people slept on, and that's why I think he fell so low to the 7th round. While I don't expect him to necessarily be wide receiver 12 again, I do see him having a decent year. And I graded Brendan's team at a C, just because of that running back situation. If he traded or picked up a starter running back, a lone back, I think this team would easily go up in value so much just by that one pick. And then we have Cousin Nick. So I think the one thing that he needs is a proven running back. While yes, he does have 2 solid running backs, as he picked them back-to-back rounds, first and second, I think both of them are solid, but you don't know exactly what you're going to get, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire, of course, he's a rookie with major upside. And I actually have him as a major upside pick for Cousin Nick here, because one, he's in a great system, and he's going to get major touches, as we saw with Kareem Hunt a couple years ago in Andy Reid's system. And I think you can only expect more, because now Patrick Mahomes is there and he can dump off more and more. I think that's a great pick right there with major upside. But Miles Sanders there, you don't know exactly what you're going to get, because, yes, he did break out last year towards the end of the year, and I don't know if he can sustain that or if he will sustain that, but I do like that pick there as well. And then for a safe pick, I said Allen Robinson, because he was wide receiver 8 last year in 2019, and he's the primary target on the Bears offense, and other than Anthony Miller, there aren't many people to give the ball on that offense. And I'd probably say a risky pick, along with it being with major upside, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, of course, he's a rookie. He had not played a single snap before he was taken 8th overall. And I just think because of that, it's unproven. And while, yes, it's an asterisk up there, you don't know 100% again what you're going to get with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But I do like the pick. His notable bench slots are Michael Gallup and Raheem Mostert, and I think both of them could even work in at the flex option. Whether or not Nick will do that is up to him, but I think that whether or not they have a good season, they could easily work into the starting lineup. And I'd probably say his best value pick is Matt Ryan in the 9th round at 88th overall. And I say this because he was projected at QB7, and while last year he did have a slow year, I think the addition of Todd Gurley, whether that be in the passing game or to take off passing threats, I think that will definitely help Matt Ryan's season this year, as for the first time in a while since Devontae Freeman's breakout year in 2015. I think this is the first time that he's had a solid running back behind him. And I gave Nick a B minus on this one. While this is kind of the middle of the pack, I think that he could easily go up just if Clyde Edwards-Helaire proves me right, as he does well this season, and same with Miles Sanders. As long as those two guys stay healthy and do well, I think this B minus will definitely go up. And then we have Max. I think the one thing that his team needs is definitely a consistent wide receiver too. Keenan Allen is a solid wide receiver to have just because of his name and of course his route running, but I think Keenan Allen is a little inconsistent when it comes to fantasy football, because last year he went from 43 points to 9 points to 5 points and 5 points. So really you don't know if you're going to get a solid performance or a lackluster performance from Keenan Allen. So this is very iffy pick, and that's why I also put it at the risky pick, but we'll get to that in a second. But a pick with major upside that I think a lot of people are sleeping on is David Johnson. I think in the new system, in a previously been a top running back in the Cardinal system, I think that he can easily be a top 15 running back this year, especially at flex. I think that's a steal. And a safe pick that I have is Russell Wilson. Of course, you can't go wrong with Wilson. He's one of the best QBs in the game. But talking fantasy here, he's finished top 9 in the last 3 seasons, which is kind of unprecedented for quarterbacks, especially nowadays, because they're fluctuating, getting injured, having a bad season, having an off season. You never know what you're going to get, but Russell Wilson is one of those solid QBs that you can take almost every single year. And like I said before, a risky pick is Keenan Allen, just because he's got a new QB, and he's in an unproven passing offense, which you can't tell is going to be super successful this year or super terrible this year. Honestly, you don't know yet. And a notable bench slot that Max has is Devontae Parker and Drew Brees. Both of them are solid backups, and I could easily see Devontae Parker working in at flex, maybe even wide receiver 2 if Keenan Allen is on a bye or injured or something like that. I could easily see that happening. And I like Drew Brees as backup just in case Russell Wilson goes down. I like that as a backup because that is probably the best backup in the league right now. And Drew Brees could be a starter for many people in fantasy this year. And I'd probably say his best value pick this year is probably Josh Jacobs in the 3rd round and 22nd overall. I think he's going primarily in the 2nd round, and that is a steal because he did fall fairly high from 2nd round to early 3rd round. And I like that pick a lot because Josh Jacobs, I think, is going to explode this year on the Vegas' offense. And I gave Max a B here, which is slightly above average, because I think with just an extra wide receiver, a solid wide receiver, I should say, I think this team could be going places. And Keenan Allen could be that receiver, but we just don't know as of yet. And then we have Chum's team. And I think the one thing that Chum needs on his team is definitely an RB3 and or flex. And that's just somebody to put at the flex position, maybe even working at running back if Eckler or Zeke go down. You don't know yet. But he just needs that solid backup kind of running back because you don't know if Zeke or Eckler are going to be healthy all year. But I think a pick that has major upside on this team is Robert Woods. And I think that since he's getting increased target share because of Brandon Cooks' absence, I think the Rams are also going to bounce back this year. Not tremendously to their Super Bowl form, but I think they will be a playoff team, and I think their offense will be more potent than it was before. And I think a safe pick, of course, you got to go with Zeke here because he's finished top 5 each full season he's played, and he's always consistently at the top of the game in touches, rushing yards, etc. And I think you can't go wrong picking Zeke, especially 4th overall. And then a risky pick, I say, is Courtland Sutton. Just like I said before with Noah Fant, since new skill positions are coming in for the Broncos, you don't know if Courtland Sutton is going to succeed in that offense, but you can only hope that Drew Lock finds him open almost every time. And then notable bench slots we have is Carson Wentz and Tyler Boyd. I think that Tyler Boyd, if one of the receivers go down, is a solid backup. I think that is a good backup, especially with Joe Burrow coming in. And I like Carson Wentz as a backup here too. although he's not always healthy, I like Carson Wentz as backup just in case Josh Allen does go down, or maybe even work in if Josh Allen is having an off year. And I'd probably say the best value pick for this team is definitely Robert Woods in the 5th round at 44th overall. He's been going primarily in the 4th rounder, sometimes slipping to the 5th round. But he was wide receiver 14 last year, and you can only hope for more, especially with no TD dependency. He doesn't get many touchdowns, only 2 receiving, 1 rushing last year. So you can't expect him to put up numbers just based off of touchdowns. So that is why I think he's going to be a very good pick this year. And I gave Chum here a B+, and I think this could even go up if he did get that solid RB3. Not much, but slightly. I think this could go up, but without that RB3, you don't know where to put him yet, so I'm going to keep him at a B+. And now we have Louis. I'd probably say this is the toughest one to grade, and I'm sorry if I get this one wrong. You can roast me in the comments, but I put an asterisk next to this one. He needs a stable running back too, and I say this because he's got Alvin Kamara, who of course is having somewhat contract issues. You don't know if he's going to get traded, which I highly doubt. I think he will sign with the Saints again. But if he does get traded, you don't know where he's going to go, and you don't know where he's going to land yet, or if he's even going to hold out like Le'Veon did a couple years ago. You don't know what you're going to get here. And as of Fournette, of course everyone knows that he's on Tampa now. And with a couple RBs in that system, LaShawn McCoy, Ronald Jones, you don't necessarily know who is going to get the touches here. Of course, Bruce Arians did come out this morning and say that Ronald Jones is still their guy, but I do not necessarily full-on believe that. I think Leonard Fournette will work in there, but I don't know to what extent that is. And then a pick with major upside, I said, is Dak Prescott. And I think the addition of CeeDee Lamb, along with Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper, makes one of the most insane offenses in the NFL, especially with Zeke. I just think that this offense is going to be really good, and of course it's going to be led by Dak Prescott. And I think that this can only go well for them. And I think he could be the possible breakout QB that everybody's looking for this year. And then a safe pick. I put an asterisk next to this one because this is only if he plays. This is only if Alvin Kamara does play on the Saints, because you guarantee know what you're going to get. He's been top 9 each of the last 3 seasons, and he consistently racks up catches, getting 81 each of the last 3 seasons as well. But the contract issues here do scare me just a little bit, but if Alvin Kamara plays, I think this is one of the safest picks in the game. And a risky pick here, like I said before, Leonard Fournette, new team with many threats. He's most likely viewed on a fantasy team as a running back 3, mostly a flex position, but I think he does have some upside here because you don't know what you're going to get with the Tampa offense. And some notable bench slots, he's got David Montgomery, and he did actually put him at flex this week, but he works in with Marvin Jones, who's also on the bench now. And I think Marvin Jones is a solid backup receiver, especially considering he's got Lockett and Hill starting. I think Marvin Jones is very TD dependent, but I think those touchdowns will come, especially with Stafford back. And Cam Newton here, I love this as a backup because there's only upside to be had here. There's only good things to be said because Cam is going to be pretty much the only person on that offense to get the ball. And best value pick, like I said before, Dak Prescott. He got him in the 6th round at 54th overall, which is a little lower than where he's going. But I think for sure he's going to be one of the possible breakout QBs this year. You don't know, but I think that he could be that one QB, not necessarily as good as Lamar last year, but I think he could easily be top 3. And I gave Louis a C+. Again, do not roast me. But I gave him a C+ just because you don't know with the running backs yet. If he had 2 solid running backs who are guaranteed to play, I think this team would easily be a B+. And then we have Major. And I think the one thing we need to talk about on his team is having a safe running back too. While Le'Veon Bell once was one of the best running backs in the game, I think that now since he's been on the Jets and he took that year off, I think he's regressed somewhat. And I think that he's going to get even less touches than he did last year, considering that Frank Gore is also added to the system, who obviously Adam Gase does like very much. And I think that Le'Veon Bell is an okay pick here. I think he could do well in the system, but since last year he did have somewhat a bad season, I don't know if you can rely on him necessarily. But a pick that has major upside is DeAndre Hopkins. I think that since he's in the new offense with Kyler Murray, I think this is a terrific offense, and I think that he's going to lead the charge along with Kyler Murray, but he's definitely going to be the number one target here, which is the main objective, where he's going to get most of the touches on this offense. And a safe pick, I said, is Derrick Henry. Of course, he finished running back 5, only doing amazing at the end of the season last year, racking up insane totals, especially in the playoffs. And I think he's guaranteed these touches. While you can't necessarily go off of playoffs for these touches, he did have a tremendous end of the regular season. And I think that with not many other options on this offense, he's a guaranteed for at least 20 touches a game. And a risky pick, I said, is Amari Cooper. While this isn't the riskiest of picks, I think that just because of how inconsistent Amari Cooper is, going from totals of 40 to 10 to 2, like, you never know what you're going to get. He was held to 0 catches last year, one game. And especially since a new number 3 receiver in CeeDee Lamb came in on Dallas, I think that this is just kind of, you don't know exactly what you're going to get, but if he does pan out good, I think that this will pay off tremendously considering you got him in the 3rd round. So it's not a terrible pick, but it is somewhat risky. And a notable bench slot I have are A.J. Green and Joe Burrow. I think both of them, of course, on the Bengals now. I think they could be very potent as a duo, and I think Joe Burrow, as long as he stays healthy, I think he could possibly be a solid pick, and especially since he got him late in the draft. I think that's a good pick. And A.J. Green could even work in to a flex position if Major C is necessary. And his best value pick, again, I'd like to say it's Derrick Henry, just because he was picked in the 2nd round, 12th overall, and he's generally been going in the late 1st round. Not many people expected him to get past that 1st round, let alone get past Nolan on the way back to Major. And I gave Major a B+ on this one because I think that with a steady running back 2, I think Le'Veon Bell, if he does play well and does perform like he did before, this is easily an A- team and easily could sneak into the playoffs. And that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you liked this video, if you want me to do more like this, because I love doing Crimerica Industries content, and I just have a lot of fun doing this, and especially with football right around the corner, I'm really excited for this year, and I think this is going to be one of the best seasons yet. Well, let me know if you like more of these videos so I can do more. See you guys.